Coruscant, Ray Coruscant. As a kid, I always wanted to be like James Bond. Heck, I even enjoy martinis and don't feel girly because James Bond made it look sophisticated. When Apple released the iWatch, I thought finally, but it originally had no cellular service. Then it slipped my mind and the dream died with it. Once the Apple Watch Ultra came out, I was pulled back in and the dream was revived. I decided to get the Apple Watch Ultra, the 49mm titanium with a black band to be exact, and wanted to see if it's what it's touted to be. What is it touted to be? I'm not sure. I wanted to see if I look and feel like my childhood hero.
Bond. James Bond.
But if I was to be like Bond, I needed to put this accessory to work, make it a utility. Bond doesn't waste his time being distracted by phone apps and social media, sifting through email. In order to fully embrace this persona, I took on a 7-day challenge, or mission if you'll have it, where I exclusively used my Apple Watch in place of my iPhone. I'm going to recap that experience to show you if the Apple Watch Ultra with cellular is worth the price point, and if I did indeed achieve double up status by improving my focus and productivity. Keep watching and you'll find out if I met my daily objective. When I started this challenge, I had a few ground rules before beginning. No phone usage with the exception of filming for this video and photography. All social media and email correspondence had to be done on the desktop. This would serve as an extra barrier to keep me present, the way Bond would be. Also, if I was forced to use the Apple Watch, then maybe it'll increase my chances of finding practical utilities of its daily usage. Maybe even some bonus hacks. Besides, what will I do now when I'm sitting on the porcelain throne? Read? Bond doesn't read. Another tactic to prevent phone interference was to activate airplane mode. So all incoming calls would come to the watch, and I will also turn on the silent mode switch so if I was connected to Wi-Fi, app notifications wouldn't distract. Fast forward 7 days later, and I did it. Here is my debrief on how it went. Let's start with my morning routine. My goal morning routine when I want to operate at my best is to wake up, meditate, read a chapter from a book, usually to stimulate learning, a light workout to get the blood flowing, and then I would grab my phone, scroll through my agenda, email, apps. Sometimes I would be disciplined and go straight to my productive routine. But half the time, if not more, I'd give in to the temptation to see my inboxes, whichever was most compelling at the time or most recent. With the watch on my wrist and my phone charging in the other room on airplane mode, it was easy to stick to my ideal plan. I would open up my go-to timer app called Insight Timer, and I got my 20-minute meditation in. This always set the stage for a better start to my day. I do transcendental meditation, which allows for thoughts to flow through, and then I would focus on my mantra. This does a nice brain cleanse, almost like a computer finding and deleting temporary folders and cleaning out the recycle bin. After my meditation session, I would read a chapter from my Kindle. This is phone exception number 1. I use the Kindle app, and if I'm being honest, since I'm also running the OPAL app on my phone, which restricts app usage of my choosing, I allowed this to slide since I was able to still follow the protocol. OPAL was the game changer here, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. After reading, I would get on the desktop, check my eBay inbox, as well as other emails to see what work my VA accomplished the day before. Then I would take photos of new items that came in from my supplier. Phone exception number 2. I take my photos and my phone and airdrop them to a folder, then upload them to my assistant to create drafts, and then I would launch the drafts later on. So that's phone exception number 2. After doing about 90 minutes to 2 hours of eBay work, I would take a break and go for a hike in nature. There was definitely a sense of freedom and fluidity to my movement, not having to lug around that bulky phone that would flap around in my shorts. It was just nice not to have anything on me and just rely on the Apple Watch on my wrist. When I got thirsty, I also got to test Apple Pay, which was pretty cool. You just double click on the button below the dial crown and your digital wallet pops up. Then you tap the screen, enter your PIN, and you're good to go. Apple Pay was like a major plus. I was also able to use Apple Pay at Starbucks, Chipotle, both staples in my life, so this was good to know. I no longer had a fear of not having my wallet on me when I'm out and about. I know that iPhone allows Apple Pay, but I didn't fully exploit this power until I got the watch. After my hike, I would put in a few more hours at the warehouse, which was definitely more focused. I put on my Bluetooth headset and got to sorting my product. You do have to have Bluetooth connected to either headset, speakers, because app noises, with the exception of phone calls, don't come into the watch. I'm pretty sure this is for good reasons, because I mean, imagine 100 people with Apple Watches jamming to their music out in public. It would be a disaster. You know those people who carry around speakers and want the world to listen to them, to listen to what they're listening to for attention. I had issues with YouTube Music. It doesn't seem to work without your phone. So I stuck with Apple Podcasts and audiobooks. The book does need to be downloaded to your watch's library to work, but I had no issue there. Spotify also had connectivity issues, and the one thing I haven't quite tested was Apple Music. Next stop was the gym. This is something that I would implement 3 to 4 days a week as part of my routine. And I was also able to check in with the Apple Watch. There's 24-hour fitness app on there. The QR code comes up on the screen and you put it under the barcode scanner and beep, you're checked in. And then I hit another obstacle. I track my workouts with the Stacked app. It keeps track of my previous lifts and it keeps me on point and focused. So I allowed this to be the third exception. And I personally follow the app creator's plan. Mike Matthews, the author of Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, I highly recommend him. I'm in a bulk phase right now, but with his guidance, I was able to achieve this pretty awesome physique here. And I hope to gain about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle over the next 2 years. So I'm sticking to what works. I took an Epsom salt bath post-workout, mainly to show you the cool dive app that gets activated when you submerge your phone. I turn it on when I take showers. I do it by clicking the drop icon. And then when I'm done, when I'm not splashing water around my watch, I hold down the dial crown and it'll eject any residual water. The screen stays locked until you do that. Going on errands without the iPhone being accessible to me led me to being more present and willing to banter with everyday people, which I normally don't. But instead, without having the phone, I'll just strike up a casual conversation if it feels organic. Also, the main excuse I used to have carrying my phone around everywhere was in case of an emergency. If I needed to be reachable by my friends or loved ones, then I had to have my phone. What if someone called me and I wasn't around? I would feel guilty. Well, that's a thing of the past. Now that I have cellular on my Apple Watch, peace of mind was restored. I also noticed less FOMO, aka fear of missing out, from the news and events. I was a bit less in the know, but in a good way. The biggest con communication-wise was WhatsApp messages. I get tons of correspondence through WhatsApp from family and friends, and I only go on my desktop maybe 3 times a day. So I'll miss out on funny GIFs and inside jokes will go over my head because I'm missing context. I did a lot of things while wearing the watch, and by day 3, it felt like just another piece of jewelry. It came in handy quite a few times, and I was able to make a phone call to my mom.
Hey mom, what did you say was the location of Goldfinger? I can't find his headquarters.
I also decided if I wanted to feel a little bit more like Bond, why not learn to shoot like Bond? So I went to a shooting range where they were having like a grand opening. So I practiced a little bit of shooting of targets. Then I went to a tuxedo fitting for a friend's wedding. And as for the martini, I'll have to wait till next month because I decided to go dry this month because I was inspired by Joe Rogan's Sober October. When the challenge was over, I was definitely way more aware of my phone usage and my habits. For one, the iPhone tells you your activity on a weekly basis. And even though I was still using them, or those exceptions that I mentioned, like photo taking, using the Stacked app to track my workouts, and using the Kindle app, my phone usage dropped over 60%, which is pretty cool. The question now that I'm sure you're dying to know is it worth it? And for me, I say, unless you own a business and you can write off the expense, it's not necessary, but it can be useful at times. On my AT&T business plan, I pay $37.83 per month, which includes the cost of the watch spread out into monthly payments, as well as the cellular service and the fee to be able to upgrade it when a new model comes out. There are alternatives if your goal is to rid yourself of distractions, like the OPAL app. I've been using OPAL for over 3 weeks now, and I'm a big fan. I was just going to try it out since more phone usage excuses came up during my challenge, and I wanted to maintain the integrity of the whole I can't use my phone rule. And I came across OPAL and it made me feel like I was still being honest. Also, it works. There's a link in the description below if you want to try it out. I'll probably even do a video showing you how I use OPAL to outsmart my monkey brain's desire for that dopamine drip that it gets from likes, comments, and YouTube rabbit holes about ETs and fantasy football. Now let's talk more about some important usage factors when it comes to the Apple Watch, such as battery life. I was pretty impressed when comparing it to the second generation Apple Watch that I used to have. The Apple Watch Ultra lasts me 58 hours on a single charge, and it takes less than 90 minutes to fully charge back. I would get a notification on my phone telling me that it's fully charged. Other cool apps that I liked were the uses of Siri for a quick search or measurement while meal prepping in the kitchen. I would use the Find My Phone icon to ping my phone, which came in handy when I couldn't find it.
Found it, is he?
I also like the walkie-talkie app, which allows you to just do a quick push to talk. The only downside to that is I wish more people in my network use this feature, but the one friend that does have it, communication with him is a breeze. It's like, hey, I'm down the street. Hey, I'm on my way. We are more efficient with our communication. The calendar app is also something I use, as well as the built-in workout tracker that I set as my left button shortcut. Apple Home, which allows me to turn on my devices in my home office via a Wemo plug, which is pretty awesome because I can just, say, hey Siri, get creative, and then bam, my lights turn on. I also use the steps tracker to track my steps, sleep tracker to see how good my sleep is, the phone camera controller, which is pretty cool, and I use it when I'm recording my auditions and I don't have anyone helping me. I can just hit record and see kind of what my frame looks like. I use Map My Run by Under Armour, Audible, the built-in stopwatch, timer, and alarms. Another really cool feature is the capabilities of using gestures to mimic tap actions. My settings are as follows. Pinch a finger to move forward, double pinch for backwards, clench my fist to mimic tapping the screen once, double clench my fist will prompt the action menu, which gives me more abilities to navigate the watch's menus without touching the screen. These functions are customizable, and although it's not 100% effective, it sure does come in handy if I want to skip a track and the water lock is on because it disables the tapping of the screen. This feature is probably the most Bond-like, and it's located in the accessibility menu. Then you go to assistive touch under the hand gestures option. There's a motion pointer function as well. That's something I haven't fully explored, but it seems similar to having like a mouse hover over the screen and you're able to navigate it with your wrist movement, which I think is pretty cool. There are tons of other applications and utilities that I may learn to use and love, but for now, my goal is to balance the usage of both devices. If I really truly want to feel like Bond, then I'll just suit up. Maybe even upgrade my ride. Maybe next time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. And don't forget to keep on dreaming.